Sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. In the previous session, we saw the attitude in renunciation of action, basically divided as Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika attitude. A Sattvic attitude is where a person is detached, whereas in Rajasic attitude one is very much attached, and Tamasic one is deluded due to lack of clarity. So then Arjuna, when he started his discussion with Krishna, he was worried about what is going to be the outcome of the war. And he also said, I am not ready to fight because I see bad omens. Clear indication of the anxiety caused by Rajas, and ready to let go of his responsibility and take to actionlessness due to tamas. So therefore, the need for explaining what is the sattvic nature of renunciation, because the question raised by Arjuna in the beginning of 18th chapter is, what is renunciation and what is tyaga or abandonment? He was ready to take it up to renunciation without understanding. Renunciation without the correct knowledge of why one has to do it will be either rajasic and tamasic, that will not give the appropriate result. Types of resistance we saw: active resistance, passive non-resistance, and passive resistance. Active resistance is tamas, where a person is out of anger or frustration or revengeful attitude, engage actively to resist a situation. Whereas tamas is passive and non-resistance, letting it happen without proactively doing anything. Whereas passive resistance is of the peculiar kind, which is sattvic by nature, being non-violent, at the same time not accepting the misrule, the slavery, and taking others for granted, not following the proper human characteristics, or not treating others as a human. And these kind of situations, one cannot engage in battle with that person. Perhaps the enemy is much more powerful. Nor one should accept a situation and do nothing about it. So Mahatma Gandhi had very clearly adopted this passive resistance. The explanation we saw in the last session. Equanimity is the hallmark of sattvic attitude, and it is to constantly maintain that equanimity, and that is a great spiritual practice. Not having any negative feeling when one is engaging in the duties and responsibilities of life which come on the way, and at the same time not feeling thrilled about one's progress in spiritual life. When one performs selflessly, there should not be any pride about that also. So, but that, how is that possible? But by that being aware of the field of activity, where and when, the relationship with the world, why one is doing, and the nature of the mind and the senses while interacting the world, how they are behaving while in the field of work, and then who is actually is a performer, being aware of the self. This also we have seen in elaborate ways in last session. There are expected quandaries of life, challenges, and Gurudev said action is a signature of life. So even to maintain the physical body, one has to act, one cannot give up. We are living in an interdependent world. That means what we do and what we don't do definitely affects others. So the solution is to understand that when we engage in action, there could be 3 different possible results that may come: favorable, unfavorable, and mixed. If there is a failure in the results that comes out of your action, understand nobody can decide the result of action. Everything depends upon many unpredictable situations and various participation of the people, etc. So do your best and leave the rest. Whereas if the results are favorable, then don't be very proud about that, because growth is always work in progress. So never stop working towards your inner freedom. External success should not go to your head. But if the result is a mixture of some failure, some success, keep on improving whatever you do, because bring a qualitative change in whatever action that you undertake. These are the ideas which we saw in the last session. In this session, we will begin with Krishna's advice about the components of action. Any action undertaken are governed by, every action is governed by 5 important factors. Number 1 is adhishthanam, body. Humans alone are endowed with the ability to do the work. Animals cannot do, birds cannot do, aquatic creatures cannot do. Even gods in the heaven are not eligible for action. Only humans. Because humans alone have the physical body that has the ability to do the work. The hand, kara hai to karma hai. And understand, work is not a mere physical activity. It is not what we do every day, getting up, eating, sleeping, drinking water. This is not considered as work. Work means not mere instinctive reaction to situations, but it is an engagement with a perceivable goal, a plan of action, and applying the required effort to accomplish it. That is what is called work, really speaking. So, human beings are endowed with the ability to think about the future, what one wants to achieve, what is one's own goal, what one wants to accomplish given a period of time, and secondly, how to plan for that action to happen, to accomplish the required result. Also, how much effort is necessary, what are the resources necessary, etc. And understand all these are all finally going to be done with the physical body alone. So, body becomes adhishthanam, karma adhishthanam, the very basis or the very place where the action takes place is body. The second one is karta, the doer. The ego that has a particular object to achieve is the doer. And what is the ego? Identification with the body and its needs, or identification with the mind and its desires. The ego, the doer, the karta, cannot do anything without the identification with something. And basically because of the feeling of incompleteness, all the time the ego feels that incompleteness, and therefore it engages in accomplishing what it wants. A small child which is growing up suddenly feels that it needs a toy, it starts crying, demanding from the mother or the father. Because that ego of the child, even though it is underdeveloped maybe, but yet there is a feeling of incompleteness. There may be some 10 toys are there, but it has understood that the new toy has been bought by the neighbor's child. So it looks at it, I want that also. Oh, why not you play with whatever you have? No, I am incomplete without that toy which I want, which the neighbor's child has. So even very young age onward, we see the play of ego. As one grows up, it becomes more and more demands, more things to enjoy, more things to accomplish. Endless is the game of this ego. So the karta is the ego, the doer. The third factor or component is instrument of perception known as karanam. Karanam here means the way we perceive the world through the organs of perception is very critical to plan and execute any action. If the faculty of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, etc. are defective, not efficient, the decision and the plan to perform the action will also be compromised. If one does not have the proper eyesight or ability to hear, that person's action will be hampered because he's not able to get the required input for him or her to act. So the instruments of perception here referred as karanam. Based upon the input that we get from our senses, so will be our ability to execute what we want. If a person is a pilot, for example, he must have a good eyesight. If a person is a soldier, he must have an agile body. He cannot be handicapped. A person who is a scientist working in a laboratory must have a proper ability to concentrate. If one is a person who is speaking, who's a receptionist, or one who attends the phone calls, then he must have the proper vocabulary. He must have the proper language, diction. So what is required for that particular action? Not only perception, but also the action, the cheshta functions. Because the mind is in touch with the world through external organs of action. So their health, ability, and efficiency contributes to performing the action satisfactorily. So adhishtanam, the body with which one performs action. Karta, the ego, one who identifies with the problem or the desire and accordingly plans to execute the action. Then karanam, the instruments of perception, which receives the stimuli, information from the world. Then the cheshtaha, the various faculties that are used for accomplishing a particular task. The final one is called Daivam, the presiding deity. This is peculiar to the Hindu culture or Hinduism, because each organ of the body is presided over by a deity according to Hinduism. Like, for example, eyes are presided over by the sun. Without the sunlight, eyes cannot see. Ears are presided over by Digdevata, the god of directions. And the skin is presided over by air. Tongue is presided over by Varuna, the water deity. So each of the organ is presided over by a particular deity, and that deity is referred as Devam. With the blessings and grace of that deity that is governing the senses alone, one can perform. Therefore, generally, Vedic procedures invoke the deities to bless the performer at the beginning of the ritual, so that the ritual can be complete with the ability of the senses and due to the blessings of the deities that govern them. Now, some of the texts we find that the word Daivam refers to karma phalam, the results of past actions. It is important for us to understand this as well, because every one of our action is not independent of what we have been. What I am today is I am a product of what I have done in the past, not only in this life, but previous lives as well. What I am capable of understanding, what I am able to do, is not only what I have learned in this life, but also my tendencies and tastes and vasanas that I have accumulated over a period of time, and also the result of the actions that I have performed in the past. So Daivam means what you do in this world today is also a product of, a result of what you have done in the past. That is the reason why not all people do the same thing, or not all people do a thing in the same way. It is not only because of the knowledge that person has acquired, but also the tendency, the affinity, the inclination that the person has towards that action. You can see even in small children, one may be interested in sports, another may be interested in study. It is not because of the parents. Parents did not contribute to that. They only contributed to the physical body of the child, but the tendency that the child has, one towards the sports, another towards education or knowledge, is not decided by the parents. That has been brought by the child from the previous lives. So therefore, given a particular situation, how one will act is not necessarily decided only by how he is capable of acting, but what is the personality behind that actor. That is decided by the actions of the past. So that's why the karma phalam is referred as Daivam in some cases. So these are the 5 factors which govern any action, the components of action. Having explained this, Bhagavan Krishna proceeds to say, whether good or bad action undertaken by any individual through speech, body, or mind are caused only by these 5 components of action. Nyayam va viparidam va, he says. Whether it is nyayam, which is considered as good, virtuous, or viparidam, opposite of that, contradictory to that. If it's a sinner, he is also using the body, he is also a karta, he is also using the instruments of perception, he is also engaging in the action through his sense organs of action, he is also driven by the past tendencies and according to the strength and the ability of his own senses. If he is a saint who is engaging very saintly action, he is also using the body, he is also having the intent to engage in selfless work, karta. He uses the instruments of perception, he engages in action through activities of the sense organs, and also he is governed by the presiding deities as well as the past deeds that he has done. So whether it is a good or bad action by any individual, these 5 components are necessary. Continuing further, Krishna clearly points out the impulses to action and basis of action. He essentially points out that jnata, jneyam, and jnanam. Gurudev prefers to interpret this as impulses are three kinds: experiencer, experienced, and experience. And here, who is the experiencer? Who is the one who is the one who engages in this action? What is that which makes a person seeking to accomplish anything? This experiencer is one who wants to achieve what one desires. Without desire, nobody will engage in action. That's why it is said, phalam anuddishya mudaha api na pravartate. Without thinking about what one wants, nobody will engage in action, even a fool. Every one of us engage in action, whatever be the action that we are doing, we have an idea about what I want to get at the end of it. Desire for that alone is the one which impulses one to act. Now, experienced means what is one wants to achieve is also clear in the mind. This is what I want to achieve. So if you are writing an exam, what is that? Why is that you are writing the exam? So that I get a particular, thing accomplished, a degree, a master's degree maybe, or I may be able to complete a particular professional certification. And that certification by itself is not complete. With that certification, I have a promotion. With the promotion, I get more money. With the more money, I can buy things that I want. And with the things that I want, I can, be more happy, more protected, more secure, more comfortable. So what is that finally you want to achieve is a happiness through many various different means. So you are writing this particular exam is actually wanting to be happy. You understand that? So the immediate goal is to or completing the task of writing the exam or passing the exam. But final result is, what is the final goal? I want to be happier than what I am today. So that goal that is desired. Now, where does this goal appear in your mind? From the past memory. The collective memory about the object of desire is called the experience or called jnanam. The memory of that past deeds, past experiences, propels one to act similarly or more than what one has done. It is like if I am going to a restaurant to eat, I know exactly what that restaurant is going to offer to me as a food. I have a memory of it because I have had it before. So that memory impels me or propels me to act and go towards that particular restaurant to enjoy the food. So every action of ours has got a memory propelling, pushing us to go forward. So this way, experiencer, experienced, and experience are the impulses of action. Now, what are the basis of action? In the earlier slide we saw, there are 5 components. Adhishtanam, body; karta, the doer; karanam, the instruments of perception; cheshta, the activity; and daivam. So these 5 are condensed into 3. That is, instruments, object of action, and subject of action. So what are the instruments? Both external and internal instruments of action. External are in the form of speech, hand, legs, and all that which are used for our action. What are the internal ones? Mind, memory, intellect, knowledge, and all those things which we use for engaging in action. Then what is the object of the action? The desired goal to be achieved through that action, which is similar to what is experienced in the previous one which you saw. So the object must be very clear for the person to engage in. And then finally, the subject of the action. The subject of the action is one who uses the instruments to get the desired result. So this way, basis of action and impulses of actions are enumerated by the Lord very clearly. So this is about the understanding of what action means. Why he is elaborately going on this? Because as he had said earlier also, that a person who is living in this physical body can never stop action. Gurudev said, even a person who is realized the highest truth, when he is living in the body, he cannot but act. So when we understand the components of action, what are the impulses and what are the bases, we know how to handle them carefully. Now, further going forward, the intention of all this discussion is to mainly move from action to actor to Atman. In this particular chapter, which is talking about sannyasa, renunciation, is merely giving up action make a person a renunciate or a sannyasi? Or is it that merely stopping to act, nearly not being an actor, does make a person a sannyasi? Or a true renunciation is in discovery of the actionless Atman? Really speaking, in the discovery of the reality of the self, which is actionless presence, that is what is the aim and goal of renunciation. Not just not doing, not just renunciation of the ego, but recognition of the self as the actionless presence. Now, how the transition takes place. Now, understand, cause of the action is not the world. It is a desire born out of ignorance of one's own self. This is the first thing one should understand. Due to constant dissatisfaction with oneself, one seeks to find contentment through acquiring desirable objects or companionships with the people. This seeking results in constant activity, because never we rest content. If I get something today, it's not enough. Tomorrow I want more of it. Tomorrow I want a variety of it. Tomorrow I want something else. If you have finished eating, then what do you want? Sweet. If you finished eating sweet, what do you want? Coffee or tea. Okay, if you had coffee or tea, what do you want? I want to rest. Okay, after rest, what do you want? I want something to drink again. After that, what do you want to do? I go for a walk. It never ends. Okay, after finishing work, what do you want to do? I want to go and play and do workout. After that, what do you want? I want to come home and rest. After rest, what do you want? I want again engage in action. So when is that we say, I am content, I am complete? We cannot. Because the ego in us is constantly working on that. While engaging in one action, one does not realize that the discontentment will never be overcome by possessing inert objects or any companionship. One is married, is it complete? No, I want children. I want the company of children. And if that is over, no, something else. It never ends. So, there are only momentary fulfillment of desires, which are unappeasable by nature. By very nature, they are unappeasable. It is continuously growing in us. So, do not merely think that the world is making me do things. No, the world is a place where you do. It is not the cause of your action. Desire is the cause of your action. What is desire? Ignorance of the complete self. In the absence of the knowledge of the completeness of oneself, one remains discontent, and discontentment pushes an individual to engage in action continuously. Now, this must be first realized. Second is shifting the focus from action to actor, the individual soul. So how do we do that? The first thing is question the motive of the action. Is it a desire or a responsibility? Sometimes you may misconstrue or think that a desire may come as a responsibility. Somebody would say, okay, I am doing all my actions for my family only, Swamiji. Oh, is it so? Yes. It is my responsibility to take care of the family. All right. But you don't stop there. Taking care of the family never ends, because you may say, oh, I want to take care of my wife or my husband and my children, their education, their well-being, their health. That is what I want. That's all, Swamiji, I want, nothing else. Okay. Then you will say, oh, my child is getting married. Now my responsibility is to take care of the grandchildren also. Right? That is not your responsibility. That's your desire. The responsibility lies on your children, not you, because it is their children. So now, but what happens is people never stop that. Now, anyway, I am doing nothing. So therefore, let me take care of my grandchildren also. Then comes another thing, dog, cat. No, is that your responsibility or desire? You ask this question. Why do you need that? Companionship, Swamiji, I'm getting bored. Oh, God is there always for your companion. Why do you go down? Why don't you go for God instead of dog? No. See, I'm not against any of the pet or anything, but you just look at it. Ask this question. Am I doing this action out of desire, or it is my responsibility? When Arjun was in the battlefield, he was confused. Am I really wanting this war for the sake of getting my kingdom back, which is taken away from me by the Kauravas? Is it a desire, or is it a responsibility of me being a king to take it away from the wrong people and put it back in the right order? If only he had thought about it at that point, which he did not, he would not have got confused. But he was not able to think that that it is my responsibility. He only thought it is my desire. So therefore, if it is a desire, then shifting from action to the actor is difficult. For no desire can be fulfilled without constant identification with the 5 components of including the ego. This identification reaches you or takes you to I like, I don't like, I want, I don't want. So this continuously goes on. So if the action is prompted by desire, or motive of the action is desire fulfillment, you can never shift your attention from the action to the actor. If it is a responsibility, if you understand it is just your duty to do so, one can still do the best and leave the rest. Detach oneself from the ego. Action can be done as an offering to the Lord without anxiety about the action or the results. Responsibility is not a desire-prompted action. See, like when you're going on the road and you find a child unmindfully crossing the road while a car is about to come and hit her, would you not go and save the child with the limited time available and take away the child away from being crushed by the car? Is it your responsibility or a desire? It's not a desire. You don't even know the child. But you, as a social being, and when you see an innocent child middle of the road, it is your responsibility to engage in that action. If you can take her out of danger without endangering yourself, that is also important. So the responsibility, you see that. Then that's why as a civil person, a citizen of this country, it is your responsibility to go and vote for the president or the House of Representatives or the congressman or councilman, whatever. It is your responsibility, civil responsibility. It is not a desire. It is that which I am supposed to do it. When you are asked for a jury duty, it's your responsibility. When you are asked to stop at the traffic signal so that the traffic can be well regulated, it's a responsibility. When you are asked to drive in a particular speed limit, that is a responsibility. And coming closer to home, you have got a child, and getting the child educated properly, that is your responsibility. Do the best. Leave it afterwards. Don't have any ego about it. Don't have a pride about it. Don't have an expectation in this. So from the action, you can move closer to the actor, individual soul, who is functioning through this physical body to complete certain tasks in this life. So now from that actor, you have to move to the next one. But here, Gurudev, beautiful idea here. Only when the needle is in contact with the record can the gramophone thunder forth its tone. Only when the ego is in contact with the mind can the individual be propelled forth into the channels of his own vasanas. The ego is the one which is pushing an individual to engage in a particular vasana created activities. So when the identification with a personal result in mind is removed, then it becomes a responsibility or a duty to perform. And you can clearly see what is desire and what is responsibility, and then detach from the desire and engage in responsibility. From the actor to Atman, next step. How do we do that? Through the guidance of the gurus and scriptures, one understands that the true nature of the soul, the self, is actionless. Only the ego and the body are engaging in action. This requires intense study and faith in the words of the teacher and the scriptures to know that the self in me, the soul in me, is actionless presence. Once we realize that, it is like this. Even while engaging in action, one can remain as the self, the witness to the 5 constituents of action. Just as you can watch the inhalation and exhalation of breath, that goes on without your intervention, is it not? When you breathe in and breathe out, you can consciously do it also, or even if you are not conscious, it is going on. Similarly, a well-trained mind can engage in action without becoming too involved in what he does, becoming a witness to what is going on, while what is necessary is being done, but not disturbed by what is happening there. The result of it, or even while engaging in the action, there is no anxiety. Let me do my best. And at the same time, when there is no action, one remains in the actionless presence of the self. It's not that such a person wants to be busy all the time. See, we in present day, what happens is we want to be busy, and if we are not busy, we feel very dejected and depressed. Oh, I don't have anything to do. Why not you remain as an actionless presence? Just watch yourself, watch your thought, watch your own mind quietly. But we are not able to do that because we are so much habituated to act, habituated to think, habituated to be busy. We are not able to be present as a mere witness. See, when you are watching a football game or a basketball game or a volleyball game or a tennis game, can you be a spectator? Very difficult to be a spectator because you always take sides, some way or the other. Some particular player belongs to a particular country becomes your favorite, and you want that person to win. Even when you are watching a movie, how many of us can actually watch the movie? We don't. We participate in that movie. We become so identified with the hero, and we get very angry about the villain. Understand, both of them are acting. But when you are able to watch the movie for what it is, how well the villain is acting as a villain, how well the cruelty of that villain is demonstrated by him, if you are able to appreciate that, while you are also appreciating the heroism of the hero, and without any discrimination, unbiased, then you really enjoy the movie. So be a spectator. Don't take to strides. So even as you do not have any particular action to do, why not remain as a silent self? Enjoy the presence. Not going lazy and sleeping. I don't mean that. But just be in the stillness of the moment. Be silent, be watchful, be a witness to the movement of the mind. How the thoughts arise, how they are subsiding, how they again new thoughts arise, how they are subsiding. But that presence, that silent presence of Atman, we are not able to reach because either we are very busy with the action or too identified with the actor. Continuing, Bhagavan Krishna explains how the knowledge that we have gained over a period of time through various sources, that knowledge also are divided into three parts: Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika Jnanam. So in this section, he is going to talk about the division of knowledge, action, and actor based upon the quality of the mind. First one is the knowledge. What is sattvic knowledge? Awareness of the one self in all beings, undivided presence among the variety of beings is called sattvic knowledge. See, this is the beauty of the Hinduism. Hindu scriptures talk about ekam eva advitiyam Brahma. One alone is the absolute truth. And based upon that alone, one can see the entire world is a single family. Vasudha eva kutumbakam. Meaning, the whole world is one family with only one presence functioning through all. See, when I say, this is my family member, my brother, my sister, my cousin, or uncle, or aunt, what does it mean? They belong to the same blood relationship, family. Meaning, we are all connected, related, known to each other, connected to each other, related to each other. In what way we are related? We are related because, see, if I say, this is my uncle, my father's brother, the uncle is uncle only through my father. They say, this is my cousin. But this cousin is because this is my uncle's, let us say, my aunt's son. Or so then what happens? Aunt's daughter. Then my aunt is who? My mother's sister. Now you see, I am related to my mother, and mother is related to her sister, and sister to son or daughter. So I have gone little far from that. Then I say, my nephew, my niece. Whenever you say relative, where does it begin from? Me and the immediate one person. With that relationship, I bring all relationship, either through my mother or through my father or through my brother. Again, when I say I'm my brother, it is actually coming through my mother and father only, right? So immediate relationship, what you have, decides further relationships. So when I have an immediate relationship with Bhagavan, the Lord, only then I can understand this very Bhagavan whom I am related to, this very Bhagavan who is my own self, is the same one who is in the other person's heart also. Otherwise, the relationship is only a physical relationship, blood relationship. Somebody who's a stranger whom I have never seen in my life is in front of me. How do I relate with that person? You would say, that person is not related to me. Then what is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam there? The Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, because you are Vasudevasya Kutumbam. Vasudevaha Paramatma Krishnasya Kutumbaha. This is Krishna's family. Why Krishna's family? Krishna is my own self. And that very self, Krishna, is there in him also. And therefore, I and him, even though we do not know each other, we are related. You understand that? Because all are related to Bhagavan only. This knowledge is called Sattvic Jnana. Whereas, what is Rajasic Jnanam? Perceiving only diversity, only the variety of beings based upon the birth, the caste, the color, faith, tradition, language, eating, community. Oh, my. Where an individual does not see the oneness at all. And this Rajasic Jnanam creates a lot of divisions. Intolerance and non-acceptance, then causes so much of hatred, war, violence. And that's what we see in the today's world also. Why this war? Why this so much of arrogance? Because the person who is initiating the war cannot see that what is in me is what is in everyone. Can I allow my own people in my country to go run away from my country, millions of them to run away from my country to go to another with no food, no shelter? How will I feel? Can I not feel the same way for a person belonging to another country? Why am I causing this? You cannot see. That is called Rajas. And the third one is Tamasic, where one cannot see anything because one's own idea based upon one's own religion or a faith, and he starts hating others. And that very fanatic view of one's own pet idea has no logic, and making that person feel that what I understand alone is complete and exclusive. Nothing else can be there. This is religious fanaticism has gone to the extent of killing many people over a period of time. You have seen it. So Sattvic Jnanam, Uttama Jnanam. Please understand this. You belong to a tradition and culture which is most beautiful, most eternal, and all-encompassing, peaceful, all-inclusive. Ekatva Jnanam, Ekasya Jnanam. That is called Sattvic Jnanam. Krishna proceeds to say action is also three types: Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. Sattvic action is where a person engaging in duties without attachment, love, or hatred, and without seeking personal result. That kind of an action is called Sattvika Jnanam. The great Mahatmas who lived in this world and showed us how to do this action are always of the nature of Sattvic. Sattvic presence and Sattvic action, because they engaged in all their actions without any favoritism, without love or hatred, and there is absolutely no personal agenda about in those actions. Where a Rajasic action is those which are desire-driven, with ego, and putting forth enormous effort to achieve results. That's what we find among the politicians and businessmen and men who are seeking name, fame, and power, and position, and authority, and recognition. They keep on acquiring many things so that their own name will be there everywhere. wanting to see, greediness, which is unappeasable greediness. And tamasic, on the other hand, is engaging in action without thinking of any consequence. In fact, it will be, sometimes it will be a loss, a hurt, and also inability to complete also, but they will engage in. Gurudev used to say, action, before you take up, understand that you are doing it as a service to the world. Then it is sattvic. When an actor, he's very enthusiastically engaging in only for me, nothing else matters, only me, then rajas. The third type of tamas is one who engages without thinking about anything, impulsive, instinct, destructive. So those kind of action is called tamasic action. Now the actor is also three types. Sattvic actor is one who enthusiastically works with the determination, free of ego or attachment, and unaffected by success and failure. We have seen in Gurudev, so many activities he will take up, but he is relentlessly engaging in action. Some of them are successful, some of them are not. He said, doesn't matter. If the Lord wants it to be successful, he will make it successful. If he doesn't want to become successful, let it be so. I am going to do it. Of course, he plans and executes it properly, but then circumstances are not conducive. Therefore, it may be failure. It doesn't matter. In the action itself, I find is my fulfillment, irrespective of the result. Whereas rajasic actor is one who is greedy, harmful, desirous of results, and becomes happy or sad based upon success and failure, always tossing himself up and down. And one day he's happy, another day he's sad. One day he's smiling, another day he's depressed. It's because of the nature of action can never be, and the result can never be predictable. So it's like, up and down, the Dow Jones or the share market goes up and down. And people who are rajasic is constantly engaged in that, and there is no end to it. There is constant anxiety. Sometimes people get stressed. But whereas a tamasic actor is one who is a cheater, a trickster, cruel, adamant, lazy, dejected, and if a given chance, he will just won't do it. Procrastinates in everything. If what can be done today, he will say 10 days later. Because I don't have a mood to do it. I don't have the desire to do it. Desire is, I have the desire, but I don't want to do it. That is the kind of the tamasic actor. So this way, Bhagavan has given varieties of, divisions of the knowledge, action, and actor based upon the mood or the quality of the mind. And he will further talk about varieties of the other constituents of our life. Renunciation should be understood very clearly. That is why he elaborately goes on to explain the moods, the qualities, and all other aspects of action. Because before giving up action, understand what it is. Just like that, walking away from action is not renunciation. Knowing what is the best way to overcome from tamas to rajas to sattva. Only when one reaches the sattvic nature, he or she is capable of renunciation. As a rajasic person, you cannot give up action. As a tamasic person, you cannot give up action. You will not be able to. You will suffer. Only when you reach the mood or the quality of sattva, you will naturally become fit to renounce. We'll see more of it in the next class. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhabhat bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.